Thank you very much for being on tonight, Gene. I understand there's a big time difference. You're over there in South Africa, right?
That's right, Gary. Thanks for the invite. I do appreciate you having me on the podcast.
Oh, definitely, no problem. I love highlighting people that were enthusiastic and inspirational, especially where it comes to studying Mars and its amazing surface. And it's quite not the geeky place that they had all taught us that space was growing up. It's in fact, it's far from geeky. There's so much to look at, so much to do, and so much in your face, pun intended, of the fact that we are not alone. At least have not been alone. Uh, so again, thank you very much for joining us. I know you've done a lot of work on this, but as I read in your bio, sir, it states that you've only been doing this for about 3 years now.
That's right, Gary. I started at the end of 2017, just before To the Stars Academy had their big announcement in the news. So I had my awakening, if you could call it that, in December of 2017, round about there. And I can credit Will Farrar from WhatsUpInTheSky 37. He's got a YouTube channel, and he got me going into analyzing Mars anomalies. But I'm focusing more on satellite photographs, whereas the other researchers seem to be focusing on the surface from the Curiosity rover, Opportunity, and those other rovers. So right. I've found a lot of things over the past almost 3 years, Gary. We'll go through them when you get a chance.
Oh, definitely, and we're going to go through a lot of them tonight, as people will be seeing what you like to present. It's fascinating stuff. I know our previous guest, George Haas, he is focused a lot on this area too, and he thinks that this is a great area for people to acclimate newbies, as it was to these features here specifically regarding the Raptor Zone. But so that's basically how you got started. Okay, so at what point did you start finding things when you first started looking? I'm going to predict immediately, at least that's how it was for me many years ago. But orbital imagery is the way to go, especially, like you mentioned, people looking down on the ground through the few the few missions that we've had there, taking images of the surface. And, you know, it's nice to put in a bigger understanding and overview process of looking at understanding what you're looking at even on the surface. And there's so much more to the surface than where the rovers landed, isn't there, Gene?
Yeah, Gary, absolutely. What we're seeing in the rover images are small objects. I'd say basketball size. You can hold these things in your hands, basically, type of size. Whereas the stuff I'm looking at is megalithic, epic. These things are massive. They're on the scale of at least 10 meters across or more. So
right.
The guys are, they're looking at small objects. And it could be that there were smaller beings on Mars and then an ancient builder race that left these mega structures like they did here on Earth. And then for some other reason, there was a catastrophe, who knows? And we've lost our history. There's a huge chunk of our history that's missing. That's what I speculate, Gary.
Yes, sir. A very big history, pre-human, and could be other than human, especially because we have that big, human creation problem involved in the middle of all of this. And what came first, the chicken or the egg? And when we look at Mars and other features of the solar system, many are catching on to, is that, there was something here, someone here, an intelligence here long before us. And those subjects vary on this show, from the extreme scriptural, biblical to, mythos and other legends and lore around the world. But all that seem to connect to these megalithic sites, the things that we cannot even duplicate what we find here on Earth, let alone the bizarre world type of features we're seeing up on Mars that appear to be far larger or reminiscent of certain features here on Earth with regards to intelligent structure and design. And that's the fascinating too, because like you, sir, I've been studying the surface of Mars. I found many pyramids, and they're not like the pyramids we're familiar with, unless you consider the Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun. That's kind of reminiscent to me, in my opinion, of the DNM pyramid in some ways, with the mindset of designing structure and ability to create structures where people are seeing ruin, and there's another side to that, to where it's purposed. That's the thing. And so all pyramids, like, as you know, sir, are not just four-sided as it was. Well, even though they're really eight-sided in Egypt, right? We got to appreciate that. But other than that, it's just fascinating. So how long was it until you first started getting into this work that you started seeing things? Immediately?
Gary, about, I would say 2 or 3 weeks into my research. I'd say from all the images I download, about 2 or 3% of those show some anomalies. The rest are sanitized, they clean, there's nothing in them. So you got to download a ton of photographs and go through them. You got to go down on your hands and knees, and you got to look for these things. And about 2 weeks into my research.
Mm-hmm. Right, that's excellent. So that, and again, and that's not very long, considering when you find something that just inspires you to look all the more and see what else you could find. Because again, the data's there for you to find things. They're not telling you what you're finding, and they will not agree to the positions of us commoners or common folk with looking at these features would say it's artificial. They will not give that official position. But they leave it to us. In a way, that's good too, because there's overwhelming evidences of the artificiality aspects that many of these mainstreamers and them part of these programs do not want to talk about. They'll shy away from your shows. They treat it as like the Loch Ness Monster type scenario, and it's not. This is in the data itself, and we have multiple sources of data, not just one, as you know, and multiple imagery that confirms the finds, of which it's not speculating about, it's showing the data about and creating honest opinion based upon what we see. It's in the eye of the beholder that they want to consider it or not. Many people I see, though, Gene, I don't know if you ran into this problem, they tend to block it out all the more, not just the "are we alone" aspect question, just kind of slaps you in the face with, pun intended, but the aspect of the sheer size of it. It's too immense. Many people can't comprehend that, let alone on this planet. Again, like Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun, that was called to be, and no one knew that was a damn pyramid. You know what I mean? And it is. It's Mars-like, and so is the surface under all that dirt, sitting the whole valley. Jock Doubleday, I don't know if you're familiar with his work, the shielding effect, and he lays out great groundwork. And I told him, I acclimated him to Mars, that I believe Mars is done in a similar fashion. And if we were to uncover all the greenery and the woods and everything in that whole valley, if we were to buy them out, excavate the whole thing, they're going to see it's been all manufactured, not just on the pyramid with geopolymers and gigantic blocks and this, that, but the whole region, even the rivers. That was the fascinating aspect. So the lands around it would be conceivable that they're artificial as well. And that's what I believe we're seeing on Mars. Now, nothing is taken away from that theory. In fact, it just supports my words. But again, what people are willing to take and base on their findings or understandings or lack thereof with these features. Would you agree? Did you notice that in people?
Yes, absolutely. The massive Bosnian pyramid, mainstream scientists reject the idea that, as I understand it, that it's a pyramid. But obviously, independent researchers have gone there and they've discovered vast underground cave tunnel networks. There's energy there, there's resonance, and obviously we have the walkways that have been carved into the sides and the huge blocks. The pyramids that I showed at the beginning of this video show the 4 sides, the capstones missing as well. And it's very similar to the pyramids that we find all over Earth now. And actually, this is an extract, the page you're seeing here, from George Haas's paper that he wrote on the Raptor Zone Complex, that the 2 pyramids are found. And he presented this to Dr. John Brandenburg, as I understand it. And
he's a good friend, and he's a good friend and a steady participant in this show.
Yes, and he actually says he's added this to his dead civilization hypothesis. So at least we've got some mainstream scientists that are actually open-minded enough to speculate, because that's the problem with mainstream science. Most of the guys have lost the ability to speculate, or they don't want to for fear of ridicule from peers.
Right, it's controlled, and you know, like Dr. Brandenburg said, Dr. J, we call him here on this show, that they're like a bunch of grumpy old men that don't want to let go of their theories and models. But how do you adapt? And he understands the dilemma, obviously, but this is there, and therefore, if they're not willing to talk about it, well, then I don't know. I guess their names won't go in the history books. I mean, I don't know, you know, but progress moves on, especially as the data continues to come forth, and there's plenty of data there, and it's a whole nother world from what we were taught and told. But there's also a policy in place. Remember, they don't bite the hands that feed them. They're controlled by the budget defenders and this and that. And people not wanting us to know, but we know for sure that they're looking and they're figuring this shit out, you know?
Yeah, for example, yeah, we're looking at a massive triangle in the middle of nowhere on Mars. And if I can recall correctly, the NASA team describes this photograph, that it's a high-rise photograph from the Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter, as dune monitoring or something like that. So what they'll do is they'll talk about the geology in these photographs, but they won't say a word on the artifacts. We're looking
about
at
the geometry. Right, they'll talk about the geology, not the geometry.
Yes, and I think it was Carl Sagan himself who said, if we're looking for intelligence out there, we've got to look for symmetry and geometry. And that's what we got. Look at this one, another triangle. And they're huge. These things are huge. This one's quite eroded, as you can see. There's another one. Look at the size of that one. And it even looks as if something's been carved into the one side. Something like an animal, maybe. One of my subscribers said that looks like a carving of some type of animal on the side of that one.
Right.
And then there it is up close. Look, a lot of these things could be natural. But then look at these blocks. This is about, I'd say, 100 kilometers to the west of those 2 pyramids you saw at the beginning of the presentation, where we have these huge blocks. Look at them, they're still intact. They're next to one another. They're measuring about 5 by 5 meters in size.
Amazing.
Look at the way that they're still packed. And then that triangle on the top, and it's got this dome-like protrusion in its center sticking off the side, which is very similar to the artifact that we find here on Earth. Look at those there as well.
Yep.
This one is about 8 meters long, this block over here. And it's next to another one of these 5 by 5 meter blocks. Now, how on Earth
only people that study megaliths here on Earth and megalithic blocks can appreciate that. And there's a great example that you're showing. Thank you.
Yeah, the external veneer of the Awara pyramid. These blocks are virtually the same size and shape. They've got these flat, smooth surfaces, the right angles, parallel edges. There's another block, also very close to the Raptor Zone Complex pyramids. It's also huge. It's about 5 by 5 meters in size.
That's
Now,
yep.
how on earth does nature produce objects like this? Look at this thing. Look at the symmetry in that.
Yeah.
That's close to those blocks as well. We've got two parallels, two triangular sides to it. Look at the geometry in the top here.
Yeah.
It's like an H.
And look at the peak. Look at the shadow of the peak. You can see it clearly. Oh, the shadow.
It's a small pyramid, as far as I'm concerned. And there, look at that strange L-shaped piece.
Wow.
What? Nature produces something like this. Look at that 45-degree angle to it as well.
Yep.
And then this is a huge pyramid in Kanowski. They say it's a circular depression. That's what NASA classifies this as. Okay. Kanowski crater is a circular depression. That mound over there is very reminiscent of the Bosnian pyramid. And I'll show you what's on top of it. Right at the peak of the pyramid is this thing.
Wow. Look at that.
Look at the symmetry and geometry to this. You can even see it's sort of machined. Look at the round edge over here too. Yeah. And it's like a triangular opening machined into it. Obviously, this thing broke. There was some other catastrophe on Mars, multiple flooding. Who knows what happened there? But it devastated everything. This is a look at the external veneer of that mound that I showed you. Look at the rows and rows of tiles or blocks. These measure about 5 meters long. Look at the parallel.
Everyone, listeners to this show can appreciate the gravity there. You think this shit looks like a lot and how it would look as if it was Egypt. But remember, there's a big gravitational difference to where a lot of these stones on Mars and this type of work is more feasible to be accomplished more easily than on Earth.
Yes, look at the layout over here, if I could put it that way. It looks as if these have been placed there. Yeah, we've got two long blocks, same size. Both of them have these knobs or protrusions on them.
Yeah.
And then arranged in a parallel fashion there in that row, we've got those blocks there. And it's on this pyramid as well. And this funny arrangement. I don't know what to make of this. Look at that. It looks like a disc. And then it's got these two similar parts on either side. That's highly unusual for just random rocks. And then there's this massive triangle that's been carved into the surface. Look at that precision on the edge. And it's huge. It's about 130 meters across. Mm-hmm. And this side's caved in. But if you draw a line through there, this is a perfect triangle again.
Can you zoom in on that, or?
That's the closest I've zoomed in on it. This is actual size.
I'd like to see those features on the top.
Yes, these.
Yes. There's a circle right there. You just did a circle, and there's a circle there.
Wow, that's interesting. Yes, I can see it.
Yeah, you follow. You see the line? That's a circle. A circle within a triangle, as it was, for the layman's terms.
Some sacred geometry, perhaps.
Mm-hmm.
And then, Gary, there's this, I've got this theory that we have a link with Mars, and it's an ancient Egyptian link, Inca and Mayan link. Look at this. There's an
a progenitor, right? A single civilizational source of these various technologies and stone cutting abilities that we see here on Earth. Look at that.
And that there is 12 meters long, by the way, that obelisk.
That's
Look
cool.
at these.
Yeah, big chunks of something.
I don't know how you could classify these as normal boulders. Look at the triangular shape.
Right.
And they're right next to one another. That's the oddest thing about these things. There's another one.
Oh, that looks pretty tight. Yeah, man.
And then we're getting to the Stonehenge type of arrangements.
Yeah, look at that.
Yeah. And those blocks are also massive. Let's see, about 5 by 5 meters each. And they're arranged around this thing.
Definitely
And
interesting.
this is in Kanowski, where I showed you that big Bosnian lookalike pyramid.
Right.
We've got a type of Stonehenge.
That's pretty cool right there.
Very. And then you'd say, if you look at this, there's nothing to see, move on, move on. But check out that thing there in the center of this image.
Yeah, that's what I was looking at.
That there is about 15 meters long.
Look at that. That looks like something that you see over there off of Yonaguni and on the island of those bizarre cut rocks that they can't figure out where it came from. And it kind of looks like a scarab too, but it looks more like that Yonaguni type. That you've seen those Japanese megaliths, how they look. Kind of looks like that. That's amazing.
Interesting. Gary, you've got a point there. I'll look into that. But a friend of mine, actually, when she saw this, she said, hang on a second, because I thought this was some type of craft. But she said, no, it looks like a scarab. Look at the leg on the side here.
Right.
And then it's got this like scoop with a nose. And it's definitely convex in shape.
Yes, and that's how a lot of those Japanese things look over there. Those megaliths look, yeah, a lot like that type of style, and even in Mesoamerica places too. That's definitely.
And then if you look at this photograph, you see funny circular depressions. There's been liquid flow of sorts.
Yeah, that most people take for granted. They just zoom away from it, zoom out, keep going, like nothing to see here. It's camouflagistic. Look at that. Yeah, looks like an eye.
Eyebrow, the two eyelids. But you know what? This also reminds me of a boat with oars sticking out of this central structure because it's got parallel lines to it as well.
I can see why I say that.
What the hell is this? Overflow from the center. I don't know. It's got structure to it.
Right.
Look at this. It looks like a rudder. It's definitely elevated off the surface.
Definitely looks modified intelligently, but artistic for sure. Nature just doesn't do that like that.
Look at
the structure there. Look at that. All that relief. That isn't dirt and rock. That's sculpted. That's art sculpted. Even under the eye, the rim of the eye. Look at all that. Look at the positionings of. I mean, it just looks. It looks worked. For the lack of a better term, it looks worked.
And this here too.
Yeah.
You know how many of these objects are found on their own? These are funny plectrum or pumpkin seed shaped objects. They are all over Mars. Check at this. You wouldn't.
Bizarre.
Look at that. Can you see what's there?
Yeah, yeah, zoom into that. Look at that. Ah, looks
What?
like it looks like a well pit, something, or something that's supposed, that's amazing.
Yeah, it looks like a
Structures.
sculpted ant, and it
Yeah,
fell out. But you wouldn't see it if you look quickly through this.
right. Got to
It
study them.
takes it takes me hours to go through these photographs. I literally crawl on my hands and knees to
Yep.
find things. Check these things out. They are so commonplace on Mars. These larger parts, and there's a little part in the center that connects the two.
Yep.
I'll show you more. Look at that straight line through there. That's
Yep.
about a meter and a half wide, that gap. Now, there's another
It's
one.
risen. It's risen. It's a risen platform on top of that dais. You can see it. You see what I mean? You'd have to step up,
Yeah,
definitely, or step down. It's like a risen platform. You see this type in megalithic blocks. Yeah, look at that. That's a good example. But it's stepped. It's risen. You can see the black line. It's not just a cut through it. It's a step, as it was a higher
oh,
elevation than the bottom part of the dais.
yeah.
Look how
This
look how
is,
similar to that other one. That's incredible, isn't it? That's not coincidence. And then notice how it's offset. It's not a line that goes straight through the whole feature. It's offset on both of these two different features.
this is in Naphtaliya, Egypt,
Mhm.
near a mini Stonehenge that they discovered in Egypt.
Sweet.
There's a little Stonehenge not far from this circular disc thing. Is it coincidence? Look at that straight line. And you know what? I'm showing you just some of the objects that look like this.
Mhm.
I've discovered so many of them. Look at this. This is a variant of it. And I've got this straight line. It's
Yeah,
got
it
a
looks
bend.
like Yonaguni looking like, type of megalithic. They carved through them, and again, I know, Gene. You've seen many images of those rocks that have been hewn out like perfectly, almost like with laser-like precision. How? We can't
Now,
figure it out today, and people just ride over this shit. Don't even know what they're looking at. And once they find some like you and myself and many others that got into this field long ago, all it takes is one thing to find, and then you move around, find another. How many coincidences does it take?
yeah, many people I've shown this to say, but
That
this is a random meteorite impact. It broke up into little pieces and it hit the
yeah,
surface.
right, yeah, right. With a circle, triangle, circle. Okay, those are mounds. Look at that, a circle. Then you have a pyramid, triangle in the middle, and then a circle, all precision line in a row like that. That looks too. That looks too intentional. Look at that. Yeah.
Circles, triangle,
Yeah.
and it goes off in that direction. I speculate this might be a depiction of a star constellation,
That's possible.
like the pyramids that have been arranged
Or a
to
form of their language, for all we know.
the pyramids in Giza are arranged to Orion's belt, aren't they? If you look at them from above,
Yes, that
it
has
looks
been.
like Orion's
Yeah.
belt.
Yeah.
You see these? This is also, you find this on Mars all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
And you take a close-up look. There's a row of these small objects parallel with one side. You see this all over. And then perpendicular to it, we've got a small object there. And this reminds me of some Inca type of stuff. I'll show you now.
Mm-hmm.
and triangles.
Yeah.
I have found so many of these. It's like little glyphs or knobs arranged in triangles or straight rows. And it reminds me of this huge thing. It's in Vilca Bamba. They call it the lost megalithic city of the Inca. This megalith is about 5.5 to 10 meters high. But look
Wow.
at that row of 4 knobs on that.
Yeah.
There we've got as well. There's a little triangle there at the top, and we've got the triangles on these things. And again, just to save time, I'm not going to show you every single example.
No, but go through anything you want. We have as much time as you want to put into this, at least an hour or longer. So, and there's our famous friend up there.
Yeah, the heavily eroded or modified face in Sardinia.
Oh, it's definitely modified.
There's an analog. I call it an analog to the face. This dome is so much. If you look at the outline,
is there a way, Gene, that you could bring the chin part down as if it was looking up and straight? We're looking at it at a severe angle. All right, well that helps. Much better. Yeah, you can see where the carve work would have begun or was gonna. It's either was there. You can still see faint, like where the eyes would be. I could clearly. It kind of looks like Spawn, for certain listeners that know who Spawn is. Comic book, but or it's been massively eroded. It definitely looks blocks, etched, carved. How close can you get us to that image?
let's see.
Sorry about that, Gene.
I can go over to my blog, no problem.
Because I think it goes to show you're playing more, more etched in stone as it was. Definite pun intended. If we get closer to see it, like that Cydonia face.
You see the edge of here.
Mm-hmm.
There it is up close. It's definitely got blocks. There's blocks.
Oh, yeah, and, definitely got artwork too.
And if you look at the analog, as I call it,
right
on the edge, you can also see
the blocks.
There's blocks. So
look at all that art etching. Look at all the tattoo art done on it, though. That's the amazing thing. See all the tat work? Yeah. All the relief is basically purposed. You can see where it might be eroded some block away, but the lines go deep. Whoever etched it. Built it. It's amazing.
So what I speculate is that this is maybe an incomplete structure, that they haven't completed the face yet. Maybe.
Right.
Who knows? Maybe this.
It's a good candidate. It's definitely a good candidate, Gene, because I found many of them like that as well, with the bases and even with flat tops, like as it was just ready to be done up. You know what I mean? Yeah. So this is a great example of that. So I'm definitely you're looking in the right ways. I'll say that. Oh, that looks interesting.
It looks like a city at night, roadways. Look at the geometry and symmetry going on here.
Oh yeah.
We've got right angles, parallel lines, and then at 45 degrees, we've got this section.
Yep. And look at the structures built within it.
Yes.
All that is flat, people. That is not all flat. You see what you're seeing is meant to be seen.
I'll show you what this reminds me of. And you know what? Not far from Curiosity rover, Mount Sharp, Gale Crater. There we go. Right angles, diagonals, and that's what it reminds me of.
Yeah.
the Pueblan ruins at Chaco Canyon, for example.
Right? And that's just a tiny little piece. And look at that.
And you know what? These uh, walls on Mars are about 12 to 20 meters apart. Same as over here in Mount Sharp, Gal Crater. These things are huge.
Oh,
So I don't think these are dried out lake beds where the mud dried out and cracked up and made these funny
no,
looking shapes. This is
no.
artificial. I mean,
Yeah,
how can you?
you got the walls. You got the walls and you got structure within it too. The mud does not do that. That's amazing.
Look at that there. It's definitely hollow.
Hmm.
This is definitely above the surface. Maybe it's a pipe, I don't know, or a grid of some sort. But look at this. Look at these shadows.
Yeah, those walls were meant to last.
Absolutely. That's why they built in stone here on Earth and on Mars and even on the moon potentially, because
Hmm.
they knew stone would last virtually forever. And if you are traveling the universe or the galaxy, you're not going to take vast amount of construction material with you. You'll use what's there, naturally available. And stone is so easy to manipulate. Look at this thing.
Oh yeah,
What
I'm
does that
looking.
remind you of? That's got a disc and these two
Zoom
parallel
in,
prongs. It looks like the Millennium Falcon.
right? But zoom into it.
But look what it also looks like. The
That
Baltic
is
Sea Anomaly.
wild.
And this object on Mars is about 14 meters long. So it's huge. Look at the right angle there to the bottom right.
Yeah,
And these two parallel pieces sticking off the disk.
it's definitely megalithic.
So what is it? What is the
Artificial.
Baltic Sea
Not
Anomaly? We
natural.
don't know yet.
Right. Not natural.
Well, if you look at the surrounds, it doesn't look like anything lying around in the immediate vicinity or even kilometers away. You don't find anything like this. It's the first time I found a disk with two parallel prongs, if I could call it that,
Hmm.
sticking off the ones. See this disk?
Hmm.
That's huge. It's about 300 meters in diameter. And
No.
it reminds me of the Starship Enterprise. There's the disk, the nacelles are missing though. Look at the symmetry in this. It looks like those old mirrors that you used to get with a handle
Yeah.
on it. Look at
Yeah.
look at that. How's that natural? I don't know. I don't know.
Mhm.
But it's big. It's 300 meters about in diameter. So we're looking at more disks with domes on them. Very unassuming object over there. It's about 8 meters in diameter. And there it is up close. You can see the larger disk at the bottom and then this dome-like part at the top.
Yeah.
I don't know what to make of it, but there's two. I found two of these.
Nice.
There's the other one. And it's the same size.
Hmm.
And it's also got the disk with this funny dome-like part on top. And there's an illustration I did of what I think that actually looks like. So, are we looking at the proverbial flying saucer? Who knows? But two of them, this one's slightly bashed in on top, obviously, but pareidolia, who knows what that is? And there's another disc with a dome in its center. And that's 12 meters in diameter, by the way, covered in sand. That could be natural. What do they call those things?
I don't know. I see the art. I don't see natural in it. In fact, the way I see it, it looks like jewels. Cut like
Interesting.
jewels.
Very interesting. Also, yeah, very unassuming ridge line. But
Mhm.
look at that right there in the center.
Yeah, what a peak shadow.
We've got a little triangle with these three parts sticking
Yeah,
off the side. They've got these slots. It looks like a little drone, like a delta wing type of design.
right.
That's very unusual as well. Doesn't look like a typical boulder or rock. Okay, yeah, very unassuming as well. But check this out.
Wow, that's got some stuff in it. Look at that.
It's about 20 meters long, right? But look at that. It's got like a delta and
It
then
looks like King Kong. It looks like the face of Sidonia turned sideways. It looks like King Kong from a side profile.
true, true. But it also reminds me of this, the Quimbaya jet jewelry that they found in South America. Look at the delta wing tail section,
Right.
then the ornate parts on the top. Like, yeah, I don't know. It's just an interesting observation I made.
Yeah, man. Looks pretty cool. It definitely looks artificial either way.
This is
And again,
was
you're just showing representations of what we're familiar with and what it looks like. You're not saying it is. But
yes, to bring
it
out the
definitely is
symmetry.
artificial. You can see that. I mean, again, megalithic.
Look at this
That's cool.
strange thing. It's
Mhm.
about 10 meters long. Okay, yeah, I've rotated it to give you a better perspective. But look at that ridge line or skirt on it.
Fluted rim. Yeah, it's got a fluted rim.
And then the dome-like shape, and then the triangular opening there. I wonder if this is a massive fossilized shell or something like that.
Hmm.
Because I found a couple of these on Mars as well, these strange shell-shaped objects. There's another one. This thing's 12 meters across as well. And could this have been some type of creature, like a huge shell type of creature? Look at the part sticking out of here.
Right.
But look at that symmetry there.
Yeah, it looks cut. Per
It looks
perfect.
almost like an amphitheater
Right.
where you'd have the orchestra playing inside here and you'll be sitting outside on the area to the right here. And this is like those things in Sydney, Australia, the Opera House,
Right.
that type of design.
Hmm.
If I could,
Right. Yeah. Yep.
because they, what the hell? That doesn't look like a boulder. And then that thing, and it's also big. It's 12 meters across.
Yeah.
Look at
Look at
the
that.
triangular opening over here on the side.
Yeah, triangle. It does look like an opening too. In fact.
Yeah, look at the shadow.
Yeah, it looks like you can walk right in it.
Yeah, and it's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sides to it. And I'll
Like
get
it
more
looks like
into,
a jewel. It looks like a gem. How gems are cut.
doesn't it?
Yep.
Doesn't it? It looks almost like these are openings, maybe windows. Who knows? The vent on top. I
Possible.
don't know. But you're talking about 5-sided objects and 6-sided objects. Here we go. Let me show you. I've got a couple. There's one.
Hmm.
And each side of that thing is
Wow.
about 8 meters long. You can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of the sides visible there. Look at the angles.
Yeah. Again, cut like a jewel. And jewels
That's
don't
not,
cut themselves naturally. Like the jewel of a ring. That
yes.
ring that ring has to be cut to look like that. With
There you
those
go. One,
angles and stuff. Look at that. Huh. Bizarre.
Very. Looks like a gravestone. But look at the, it's got right angles there, and then this part almost the same. And then the triangular shape on the top.
Yeah.
Parallel sides as well. So there they are.
Amazing.
This one at the bottom right, I don't know how that could be classified as a boulder. And then there's another sort of tombstone type of anomaly. It's about 12 meters across. But look at the parallel sides.
Yeah.
And the similar angles at the corners.
Yeah.
And there's some stuff on it. I don't know if those are just little rocks or what. But we will look into more patterns. Check out this one. Here's a 5-sided object.
Yeah.
And looking at 108 degrees, the angles there. And I think in ancient Indian mythology or scripts, 108 degrees indicates the sign of life, as far as I can remember. 108 degrees. It's a sacred number in India.
Right.
And that's a 5-sided object. Another one. Check out this.
That looks cool.
This looks like it's definitely machined. It's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sides.
Again, like a jewel. Like a jewel.
Yes.
And it looks like something on top of it, some type of risen pillaristic feature.
I don't know what to call these things. I call them protrusions and knobs.
Protrusion, yeah.
That's what mainstream science calls these protrusions on these megaliths in South America. They call them knobs. And that sounds rather funny, but that's they call them. Look at that disc. And
yeah, look at the rock formation right near it. Yeah. See the line of rocks under it?
Yeah.
That looks cool, don't it?
I found so many half a disc or quarter disc shaped objects. So many on Mars. And you can see.
They give us 2-color imagery of this shit. That'll help us a lot, and it should bring out the tattoo more too.
Yeah, and then he has a huge disc as well, about 14 meters in diameter, lying up against something over here underneath it. But look at that perfect rounded edge to it. Yeah. And then it's got some depth to it over here.
Yeah.
And then it's covered in sand on the left. But it's also sort of dome shaped.
Yeah.
Another disc over here. Okay. There they are, just for comparison. They're basically the same size and same bright material.
Right.
Now we're going to look at some rather strange things. I don't know what this is, but it's perfectly symmetrical. And it's about 8 meters wide. What is that? It's got like flanges. What could you call these? On the sides. And then it's got a little...
like jewels, man. I'm telling you. You can see it. Like, you know, how do you cut the jewels to put in the jewelry and the rings and stuff? It has that, all that type of look. It does.
And this is right in the center.
That's either sunk in as a purpose hole, or that's some type of dome-shaped something.
Yeah, it's a little dome.
Yeah.
And it's about 1.5 meters in diameter.
Wow.
But look at the symmetry in this design. And if you go perpendicular to this, we've got that rounded.
Yeah.
There. I'd love to see these things up close.
Oh, hell yeah.
And look at this. You can easily miss this. It's about 5 meters.
Look at that.
It's 5 meters in diameter, right? But it's also got these flanges or wings on the sides, and then a little dome in the center. And you know what's interesting about this? It's lying on top of
Square.
this. It's been cleared away.
Right.
Pushed up over here, the sand. Why? What is this? But look at that. That's why NASA releases these things. I don't think, well, they probably think, who's going to look at this stuff? I mean, if they look at this, they're just going to see rocks.
Right. And the data's out there, and it's up to the public to do the research and to put it all out and based on what they're finding. And it don't threaten their official position because they're allowed to keep in that official position. But the more of time.
A friend of mine actually agrees with me. We speculate that they release these photographs. They don't say a word about the anomalies, but they mention the geology and some other features like materials that they see there, you know, and then they leave it up to us to uncover these things. That way they don't have that liability, I guess. Because remember, the Brookings report that they did in the 50s, I think it was, said the public's not ready for disclosure. And I think that
was only the last so long, sir. That was only the last for a span of 50 to 70 years. Now we're at the time to where listeners to this show could appreciate. I always bring it up. We're at a time now, based on Brookings, where we need to be told.
Correct. How many more of these anomalies and artifacts must researchers like myself show people? Aren't we ready? I think we're ready. We're so ready. Look at this thing. It's small. It's 5 meters in diameter. But it's elevated off the surface. Look at the shadow it casts.
Yeah.
It's also another one of these disc things. This raised part in the center is parallel with this part underneath it. This reminds me.
It's higher. It looks like it's up on a small pillar or something. Look at the shadow it's casting. It's definitely higher than that feature next to it.
It reminds me of a little craft maybe, or even a type of a radar that's enclosed in this dome-like thing.
Right.
I've seen the military use similar ones to this. It looks like an outpost, radar outpost or something.
Yeah.
Pure speculation. But yeah, there's just another brief look at these things. How can they be classified as rocks? I could be totally wrong. Maybe they are. But we'll leave it up to the listeners to decide.
And it looks intelligently worked. That's the problem. No matter. Mount Rushmore is a damn rock too, but it's been intelligently worked.
Correct. Good analogy. I like that one. Look at this. It looks like some type of container with this part sticking out of the opening. Looks like sheet metal that's been folded over into this box.
Heavy metal. I bet you it is metal. Okay.
Look at this strange thing.
Yeah.
It's also got an opening here on the side with something sticking out of it. I don't know what the hell this is. I don't know. But look at that.
Works block. Look at that. That looks worked.
Doesn't it? Look at the sides.
Yeah.
It's just a comparison. We're looking at, what do they call it? Hoagland calls it rectilinear objects, isn't it? And then we're looking
stuff. Yeah, megalithic. It's megalithic. You know, for
rectilinear, sure. I think he called it. These writing angled. But check this out. We're going to see so many of these on Mars. Gary, this is unbelievable as well. There's another little narrow part. But check this piece out, right? It's about 14 meters long. And it's got a rectangular design to it.
Looks like it's got a worked edge on it, like it'll cut you like an axe. It has like a blade. It looks like it's been sharpened. Don't it?
Look
at that. That looks cool.
And I'll show you what these remind me of. Check, there's something similar.
Nice.
Also,
look, that round thing on top. It's lipped. That round circle on top of it's lipped. Look at that. That's risen off the base there. That's a lipped circle. How does nature do that? For what? What was this purpose? How did it shape itself and do that? I mean, it's incredible. Incredible.
Look at this design. 90-degree angles.
Yes, indeed.
There's another one.
Yeah, but
those right.
Standing.
This one to the top right reminds me of that block just above the sky.
Right.
That block there. And it's the same size, basically. Okay, this one on Earth is a little bit smaller, but look at the geometry and the similarity. Right. And this is in Cusco, Peru. These.
What is that, Sacsayhuaman or something? Or Alante Tango?
Oh, I don't remember. But yeah, check this out. These blocks are massive.
Yeah.
Just like the Mars. Okay. Yeah, we're looking
at all those blocks.
This is dried mud that cracked up for sure, isn't it? But check this out. Down at the bottom right.
Yeah, that's no cracked up mud.
Look at these. We've got two long, narrow blocks that are almost the same size. And then these smaller ones to the left. And the middle one's got like a knob or protrusion on it. Just like those that we find in South America.
It's worked precisioned. It's worked and positioned, rather. You can see it. Look at that. It's got positioning. Nature going to do that. Look at that one. All the more. Wow.
Okay, if this was, so for example, the geology in this area cracked, the surface cracked, you'd expect that crack that you see in these two small blocks to the right with the protrusions on them, you'd expect that crack to extend through here too. But it looks as if this is one long block. It could be covered in sand, but I mean, look at the similarity and the right angles to these things.
Amazing.
And those two blocks to the right look basically identical with the protrusions on them.
Someone done it up.
Look at this too, this long narrow part.
Yeah.
You'd expect if this was a crack to go through it. But we've got four small blocks to the right.
And they've been positioned. You got one putting right up to it.
Placed directly across these large blocks.
Yeah.
So, yeah, looks like brickwork, right? But we're looking at this block on the top left is about 12 meters long. So we're looking at huge blocks again. Yep. They remind me of, you know, the huge blocks or megaliths that you find in Baltic, Lebanon. I think the one is called the pregnant stone of the south, or the pregnant woman of the south.
Charlatans or something, or whatever they're called. Just huge ass work blocks. And some say the Baalbek blocks that makes up the base was actually a landing platform, supposedly, for the Anunnaki. And even lasted after the flood, to which, you know, more modern, even though their ancient structures have been put on top of it. And you could tell the scale of the more precise and intelligent and previous advanced is the platform itself compared to the blocks, other civilizations have used. That's amazing. Look at that.
Mm. And also, what we find in these ruins is that we have the larger blocks at the bottom, and then the smaller blocks packed on top. So the relatively recent builders put these smaller blocks on top of the ancient ones. But check this out. We've got an L-shaped piece with that smaller block that fits
Looks like a toilet.
It does. But look at the protrusions on it.
Yeah.
Another triangle. But this block obviously moved away a bit and sunk down. And then we get to the huge domes. I didn't make this discovery. This was made ages ago.
I know. I remember way back then the controversy.
Yeah, you've seen this one, right?
Early 2000s. Yeah.
This is nothing compared to these that I found. You're looking at a huge dome inside here that seems to be lit. It's not, it's not casting a shadow.
Right.
It's inside this dark circular depression, which is not, in my opinion, a crater. Look at the size of it. That there is about what? We're looking at about 150 meters in diameter, and the ground or sand around it is also slightly lit. Look, it's not casting a shadow here. So
Right.
It's lit. I don't know. There's another one. Also about 150 meters in diameter. And it's also inside a circular depression. And that's what it reminds me of, the Martian structure that they built in Antarctica.
Geodesic.
It's also a depression. This one here to the top left also has like a grid-like structure like this. A Moonscott dome. That I could be. Look at the shadow this thing casts at the top left. It's definitely a dome-like object.
Feature,
and
right?
There's a funny grid over here to the bottom as well. But yeah, let's move on. Then we're getting to a rather strange anomaly. It looks like a sculpted piece, like a shield. It's been mounted to what looks like a wrecking ball. I don't know what else to make of this. But look at this curvature to it. It looks like a piece of metal sheet that's been pounded out, that it's round and it fits onto this.
I love how you keep saying metal.
I know. What else could we call it?
Mm-hmm.
And it reminds me of this technique that they used on this globe at the University of Richmond, where we've got the spherical object and then this shield-like thing's been mounted to it. I don't know what to make of that.
Bizarre.
Very. And then we're looking at what could be, I compare them to Karen that we find in the UK, where they pack, and even in the Baltics, they pack these huge boulders into patterns, to mounds as well. And I'm going to show you so many that are similar. Now we're looking at 4 that have been packed neatly next to one another.
Positioned, yeah.
Look at that perfect spacing between them.
Oh.
There's some others that are found in that same photograph.
Nice.
And to keep this video short, I'm not going to show each and every one, but look at the comparisons.
Yes, indeed.
4, 4. And this is within a 2 by 2 kilometer square area.
Right.
And we're looking at rows of 3 blocks next to one another. There, parallel to one another.
Yeah.
And there's others that are in the same photograph. They remind me of the way that we pack boulders and things in the typical grave markers or waypoints. Even new visitors to the Baltics, I think, pack rocks on top of one another, or in patterns like there again. We've got, we've got 3.
Yeah.
2 rows. There's more comparisons for you. 3, 3, 3, 3. 3 across there as well, in each row there.
Oh, man.
And then I came across this weird landform near the North Pole, about 20 meters long.
Wow.
I don't know what to make of this. It looks like, a slug, a huge slug. I don't know what else or is this a depression? Maybe this is.
It looks like a depression, like potentially even opening, depending. But yeah, it looks like just something. Yeah, that's been scoured, hollowed out, or something. That is weird looking where it is. It's like, what the hell made it do that?
It doesn't look like a pit.
Yeah.
Where it sunk in.
Yeah,
also, if you follow this ridge line, goes past it there.
Yeah.
It's not going through it.
Right.
So this looks artificial in a way.
Yeah, like it's been hollowed out.
Yeah. I call it the thing of Mars because I don't know what else it is.
Right. There's a lot of things. That's a good name.
That's it for the presentation. I want to show you, if we've still got some time. This is Google Mars. And I'm busy with the series. I've done part 5 or episode 5 of the grand tour of Mars, as I call it. And I look at the areas in which I find these anomalies. And this is going to fascinate you. This is on the equator of Mars. We have the Curiosity rover yet to the bottom left.
Yeah.
In Sharp Gale crater, and then Insight lander up to the north. So NASA definitely knows about these funny anomalies that are in this area. This is where I found the pyramids. Sorry, that one. And the huge blocks, like there's another pyramidal feature.
Yeah.
And it looks like liquid is actually seeping up to the surface and running down these gullies. Look at that, it looks very fresh. NASA says that it's actually dust.
Yeah, I know.
That has moved down the sides of these slopes, but I don't know about that. And this is where I found those blocks. Just to give you an idea. So this is Elysium Planitia. And most of the anomalies that are found are in these spots, in the southern mid-latitudes of Mars.
Awesome.
It looks like the northern hemisphere was flooded or impacted, and everything was flung into the atmosphere and then landed in the southern mid-latitudes. So we've got, what's this? This is Argaea Planitia. Just to give your viewers some context. This is Noarchus Terra. Look at all the anomalies. Those pegs. We've got then Ionia Terra, and then off to the other side, we've got Promethei Terra. But look at all these anomalies, and they're concentrated on these land masses. Because if you look at what Terra means, where is it? Let's see. NASA classifies it as a land mass. So this is an area that is obviously slightly elevated compared to the surrounds. Where is it? Anyway, I can't find the descriptor. But Terra, there we go. It's an extensive land mass. So these are like huge plains in the southern latitudes of Mars. And very few anomalies actually in the northern hemisphere. You can see there, here and there's a couple of pins.
There's a lot of things.
But
what you're studying, but there's a lot of things all over the planet.
But as I say, look how clean the northern hemisphere is. And compare it to the southern hemisphere. Something rather strange is going on. It looks like there was epic flooding, tsunamis, blasts. There could have even been atomic explosions. We know about the two up in the northern hemisphere that Dr. John Brandenburg talks about.
Right, and Mare Sedalia, and also Utopia Planitia.
Yes, and you know what? Those weren't the only two explosions. Let me show you this. Have we still got some time, Gary?
Oh yeah, we could go as long as you want, you know.
Okay. This guy, Clyde Tombaugh, I think he discovered Pluto. Noticed two very bright explosions on Mars in 1947. And I think Eisenhower actually took him seriously when he said they looked like nuclear detonations. And this was in 27th of August, 1941. He ascribes the flashes on Mars as atomic explosions of sorts.
Those flashes have been turned out to be periodic.
Yeah, and you know what? Insight Lander has detected activity under the surface that's also periodic. Which to me raises an eyebrow. I think there's an underground civilization on Mars. I think so.
Yeah, the subsurface illegals, we call them here on this show.
Yeah. Hubble photographed this huge plume that extended kilometers out into space on the 17th of May, 1997. Then March and April 2012. Look at these plumes. These look like explosions. Then we had this huge cloud on Mars.
Which is periodic too. It was just recently seen a couple weeks ago. A few weeks ago. Again. But that's the question. Is it volcanic or is it natural? Because you know the official mainstream position that it has to deal with particles in the air and whatnot, and just a cloud basically skirting over the edge as it was. Now, the thing is, why isn't it doing it to the others, especially Olympus Mons? But being that where it is consistent all the time, there are those that think that it's volcanic. And I'm like, well, why isn't Maven and others looking closely at it to determine, since they are able to determine gases and such, why aren't they studying that plume, or at least telling us what they're finding, what it really is?
I took a close-up look of that area specifically, and there's a massive pit there at that spot, or very close to it, where I think that cloud emanates. But look at the density and the shadow of that cloud. It looks to me like there's volcanic activity, and they say Mars is a dead planet. I don't think so.
Or some other activity going on underneath, and that's a venting space for subsurface illegals.
What about terraforming? It could be terraforming. Who knows? It looks like thick steam clouds. So let me quickly go into that. Let's see if I can find it. There's a comparison I made. This is the Pavlov volcano in the Ural Arctic region. It's also about the same length. It's got the same sort of shadow to it as well. What is this? These are typical cloud formations that they have photographed, and it looks nothing like this.
Right.
Let me show you another example. NASA actually calls this a cloudy day on Mars. And these are the small clouds they photographed. So, in my opinion,
look at all those knobby, anomalies.
Yeah, so I don't know. Some people have even said it reminds them of a huge craft that crashed over here, but I don't think so. Especially if it is a reoccurring thing. But Mars is definitely not a dead planet, in my opinion.
Right.
Inside Lander is detecting these regular periodic sounds emanating from the surface. I want to show you what is this new rover called?
The Perseverance Forever.
Yeah. Look at where it's going to land.
But they should have called it Forever.
Look at where it's going to land. Look at the surface features.
That's in Jezero?
Yes. Look at the rectangles here.
Yeah, it looks like paths.
Look at the distance. These trenches. It's about 5 meters.
Right.
That's the trench. Let me show you.
I still rather have landed up there at Cydonia or in Ganges or a couple other places I could think of.
Look at the way.
Look at that.
Look at the way these things intersect.
It's purposed. You can see it's purposed, and even how it notches together. That ain't natural. That's purposed.
So they know something. Look at this.
Well, hopefully it don't take them 5 years to roll up to the damn things.
Do you know what? They're going to drive past this. They're not driving through this area. They're going to miss it by about 10 kilometers to the west. They're not going to drive through this. Well, what I've seen from the projected map.
Of course they would drive away from this. They don't want to go here. It'd be too implicating.
So, are we looking at roads or canals or areas that have been marked off?
Yeah, they look like paths as it was. But risen structural paths that ain't going nowhere. Look at that.
It's incredible.
Oh.
I don't know what to make of this.
I do.
Oh,
It's artificial.
so
Someone did it.
you
Question
see,
is,
this was when Insight lander touched down. Look at that blue.
blue sky, yeah.
Moments later, they changed it. They put the red
Of
overlay
course.
on it.
Of
There.
course.
Why did they do that?
I call it the Levin factor. Because it was Dr. Gil Levin's son, Dr. Ron Levin, when the Viking imagery first were coming back. NASA had, turned all the gains up to hide it. But when Dr. Ron Levin would lower it back, put it to the, what we would see, blue skies and all that, they chastised them and they chastised Dr. Gil, basically telling him to get his kid under control. To put it in other words. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And that's effed up, and they're doing it there again. It's like, Mars sky is blue. Why can't we get true color imagery of Mars? These all fall back to the questions because, again, even on the Viking imagery, lander images, it looked like it was snow melting. They say it's frozen carbon dioxide, but whatever. But it looks like leaching and stuff. The colors help. The colors help reveal what's there. When you overturn it to make it all reddish, it obfuscates. They want to, put a false impression on you for the gullible.
It does. They also decrease the contrast. Look at that. Doesn't that guy look worried? It looks like angry.
Mars sky is blue. Yeah. Fix
Change
that
the
shit
color.
now. Fix that
Change
shit.
the
Next
color.
you know, the other scene you got. There it is. All right, it's fixed, sir. See, look. Yeah, go to where he's on the phone. Fix this shit, guy. All right, sir. Sky is blue. Scroll down, and then you can see it with the red sky. Problem solved, sir.
Yeah. During the live stream of the landing, they had Rob Manning on. He's the chief engineer, NASA JPL. And when it first touched down and the first photograph was returned and visible on the screen, he said, "Oh, there it is. You can see a better view. You can see that really is debris, and there's the horizon back there. The bluish, that's part of the lander deck."
That's called sky. That's called sky, guy. Say it. You get paid millions of dollars. Say what the hell it is. Sky.
It wasn't supposed to be blue.
Yeah.
He's very surprised. The bluish sky. Anyway, it's just an observation I made.
Oh, it's a good one. They've been obfuscating it for years.
Yeah.
It's not surprising, especially where it comes to all this that we're seeing in the images like you showed us so far. I mean, this shouldn't be surprising. Now all we need is true color imagery, not
I agree.
false color.
I agree.
Or approximate color. I mean, you could get the approximate from the approximates, but still, it's not the same. We want true color imagery.
Yes. This is a simulated color, for example. It's not the true color. We're looking at black and white. But, well, we can see the detail and we can decide for ourselves what we're looking at here.
Yeah, but we have to make the demand to give us what we want. That's the difference. We pay for this shit. It's the people's camera. Remember that. The high-rise camera is the people's camera, not their camera.
Yeah, okay. I'm not an American, so my tax dollars didn't pay for this. But I agree.
That's why I said it, because I am.
It is the people's property, for sure. I mean, I'm just very grateful that they have the guts to release these photographs.
Well, they got to. We're coming to a time where we must be told. and they know that the most of the sheep aren't looking. Like you said, it takes hours, days, weeks, months, years. I've been at this since '98, and boy, what a history, bizarre history behind all that.
Wow. And the search continues. I'm not done yet.
Oh, definitely not.
Still got so many
You're hooked. You're hooked, and you do quality work in representing your finds and showing them. That's what it takes.
Unreal. I don't know what else I can show you.
Problem solved, sir.
Is there anything else that you'd like to cover?
Well, George has really, been making a lot of, headway with the Raptor Zone Complex. If you want to get into that some, that would be great, I guess, to tidy up on. We've been on for an hour and a half already, which I appreciate your time.
Sure.
But yeah, the Raptor Zone has been pretty much, again, making headway. And so when did you discover that, and how quickly did it take off?
Okay, I made this discovery on the 27th of June 2018, and he actually saw the pyramids and the face. I actually call it the face of Chewbacca. I mean, look at that. It looks furry, doesn't it?
It does look facial. I like to process the raw for that, by the way. That would be interesting. It does look purposed, and it looks pyramidal also.
Yes, and he calls this the Chewbacca Outpost.
And most of the faces I found and seen of Mars, the faces of Mars appear to be pyramids as well. So, again, nothing, doesn't have to be four-sided. As you can see on Mars, everyone, pyramids come in many shapes and sizes, an obvious purpose.
Yeah, so George actually checked this video of mine in December of last year, and he was inspired to write a journal on it. And when he saw this, look, I call my channel Raptor Zone. That is actually my online gaming alias. Raptor Zone is what I call myself in these games where you run around shooting one another and that sort of thing.
Right.
But then he saw this and he compared it to the head of a raptor. There's the beak and the head over here. And he said, okay, let's then call this the Raptor Zone. And he wrote a journal on it. And there's that pyramid that's 2.5 kilometers long at the base. You can see 4 of the sides. And right there at the apex, which is flat, I speculate the capstone has been removed, just like the one in Giza.
Or it's just a flat platform intended. It could be either or.
Yes. And then this part off to the bottom left, very similar to the pyramid in Teotihuacan with the steps over here on the side. But it looks like it was flooded here in the distant past. The water retreated and we've got sediment covering this thing. I don't know if that is an accurate assessment. It's just
a lot of it's that iron oxide dust, the foo-foo dust that covers Mars. When we see these great dust storms on Mars, it's not sand. It's iron oxide dust, rust.
Yes. And then this strange pyramid.
Heavy metal.
Yeah. Let's quickly go to the presentation. I want to show you, just scroll up to the beginning. This has been a long one.
That's cool. Yeah, listeners will appreciate it. See, that's the thing with this, we need to be able to look at things as we talk about them, or, so the listener can get the most out of it. Unless they're just listening by audio, then, well, check it out on YouTube, whatnot, after the show or in the archives. All right, there you go.
There we can see it. It's very similar to the Pyramid of the Sun in Teotihuacan. Look at the larger base structure and then the part off to the bottom left. obviously this has been covered in sand and it's eroded over time. And then that one. I don't know what happened here. Look at that perfect circular depression in the center of this. Maybe something inside it blew out. I don't know. Or something landed there.
Something hit it. And
yeah, but why is it not a crater? It's flat. Look at that. It's flat on the inside.
Yep. And where's all the ejector?
What could have caused that? I mean,
it might be part of its design. I think it's part of its design for what we are just learn of its relevance of why they designed it like that.
I have no clue what happened there, but look at that symmetry as well.
Yeah.
So George actually wrote a journal on these anomalies, and over at the Sardinia Institute. I don't know if he's going to include the link to that journal, but there it goes into measurement.
I'll link to it. I'll put it on the show page.
Please, because his friend actually did a lot of measurements, and there's a lot of geometry in the surrounding anomalies, which I'm not even showing you in this video. But I'm sure George covered all those.
Oh, Gene, we could always do other shows if you're willing. It's just, there's a good icebreaker to, introduce you as a usual guest. So we could always bring you on again at some point and bring us to the next presentation if you want.
That sounds great. I'd love to do that. I've got so much to share. I mean, this presentation is only the tip of the iceberg of what I've discovered. There is so much more. Look at this. It looks like
square.
Maybe at the base of a pyramid that wasn't completed and it washed out.
I don't know about that, but
look how huge this is.
It looks purpose. It looks purpose, that's for sure.
Nothing like it in this photograph either. And then this, it doesn't look like a sand dune.
No.
It's
a real smooth side, though.
Isn't it amazing? But yeah, so I encourage people to actually go over to George's journal. I'm sure I linked it, yeah. And go and look at all these structures that I'm not actually going into. He's done a lot of analysis.
George loves a few that you just scroll by. He loves that one. He loves the pyramid one and the one under it. Yeah, right there. Those right. Much geometry going on right there in that one spot, and one thing does not explain another. That almost looks like.
It's very, very strange. Let's see if I can find the link to George's journal, just for quick reference. Right, there it is.
Send me that link. To the blog. I mean, to the forum page. Yeah. I'll definitely link to it.
This is over at George's Sardinia Institute.
Right. In the forum.
You can actually download the PDF of this as well. But he did an excellent job on that too. All credit to George for his hard geometry work that he did. Very similar to Sardinia, where we have all those sacred angles and geometry going on.
Yeah.
There's a similar pattern going on here in Elysium Planitia.
Related mindset for sure.
So, is there anything else we can chat about before we...
Well, is there Are you coming up to any events? Have you been looking to create any events down there and spread this news about Mars down there in South Africa, and you know, let people know how to reach you or whatnot, and yeah, So what are your upcoming plans or events?
Okay, in South Africa, there is absolutely no way that anyone will organize a seminar or get together to actually do presentations on these things. I'd be delighted to go over to the States to present my work there. But there's no events in South Africa, and I don't know who to contact to maybe organize it.
Why don't you organize one in a town and rent a hall and put up some posters, advertise it a little, and see who comes. Charge low, I don't know, $5 a head or something. Get people in the door. I'm sure the local news will pick it up, and they'll have some things to show for sure. What you're talking about, that's a good way. Can you do something like that?
I don't know. I haven't looked into it. It is a possibility. But I've signed a non-disclosure agreement with the History Channel. I'm going to be doing a segment on one of their new shows that are coming up. But I can't say too much about that. And
about the show, not the work.
Yeah, it's about a link between the megalithic structures on Earth, Mars, and down in Antarctica. I can't say much more than that.
When will that show be out?
Well, they're in pre-production phase at the moment.
Okay.
Maybe towards the end of the year, but I'll keep everyone posted on that. And then
you'll surely be on again before the end of the year. You could give us another presentation with other stuff, so that'll be great.
And then a Russian TV channel interviewed me a month ago, and apparently that video will be on Russian TV sometime now in September. But as for events, no, nothing planned on my side. But I'll look into it, George. Gary, it's interesting.
My friends call me Mars. You can call me Mars. My friends. So, all right. So that's something to look forward to for sure. What'd you think of that new video I put up showing that face? I think it looks kind of familiar. What do you think?
I love it. I love it. And I love your perspective on it too. The spin that you gave it. It looks really awesome.
Yeah, and it looks familiar a little, doesn't it?
Yes. Yes. You know what? I don't know, but I just have a sneaky suspicion that our ancestors are from Mars. I don't know why, but I've got like this in my DNA. I miss the planet. I'm obsessed with it, to be honest with you.
So am I. More than usual.
A lot.
People say I'm crazy. Ask George.
I identify with the planet. It's like my best buddy. But anyway, here's my channel on YouTube.
Yep. We have it linked on the page for people to go check out, as well as your blog page.
Okay, the YouTube, thanks for that, Gary. YouTube.com/John Ward.
Yep.
And then my blog is just mars.raptorzone.co.za.
Awesome.
And I've got hundreds of posts in this blog. But to make it easy for you to find things, you can type in your search terms, and that will make it a little easier to find things.
Right. For those who are versed with Mars. For those who aren't, just keep looking at pictures, click links, watch videos, get acclimated, because we're at a time now where we must be told. And thank you for agreeing me with that there too, because we got to make our fate, and you, sir, are going to help us do it.
I'd love to. I really would. I'm looking forward to that day when we can say, listen, we're not alone out there, and we've never been. Look at this thing. Just quickly before we go. It looks like a tanker. Look at the outline.
Definitely got structure to it. Look at that carved structure cut. That is amazing.
But anyway, I don't want to keep you much longer, Gary. I appreciate this interview. And,
no, just the many to come, my friend. As long as you're cool with that, I know the listeners will love that. They love seeing what people have to present. I know they love your work. So again, thank you very much for joining us. It was a good icebreaker, and we definitely got to keep in touch, sir. And we'll plot out for the next event where we could do a whole show.
I would love to do that. Absolutely, Gary. I'll chat to you again in the very near future.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Gene. You have a good day.
Thank you. You as well. And to your listeners, too.
All right. Thank you, sir.